Yeah, what's happening? We about to bring that action. Gotta hold it down for my Seattle Kraken. Hey, we going beneath the waves. We going beneath the waves. Get it hype, step onto the ice. Ready for some action. Release the Kraken. Hey, we going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.
What is up, everyone? Welcome into the Beneath the Waves podcast, your weekly source of all things Seattle Kraken and beyond. I am Matt.
And I'm Heather.
And I am Derek.
And I'm Alex.
Well, this is episode 9, everybody, of the BTW podcast. We'd like to welcome in all our friends, new and old. Huge thanks, as always, to everyone who has joined us so far, who has dropped a follow on the podcast app of your choice and has left a review. As always, we have a loaded show for you today with Kraken news, game recaps, the Coachella Valley check-in, and a discussion around the sound table. So, Heather, what does the Kraken news front look like this week?
It's not a super heavy news week, but we did have a few things happen. We had Yanni Gourde with an undisclosed injury this week. He actually sat on the bench and didn't take a shift for the last 17 minutes against the Islanders. And Coach Dan said this was sort of precautionary, give him the best chance to play on Friday against the Devils, which he didn't do, but he was back today for the Rangers game. So I think he's well, but I always think just keep an eye on it because undisclosed, you just never know what that could be or if it will rear its ugly head again. We had Brandon Tanev playing his 500th NHL game against the Islanders, and Mitchell Stevens played his 100th NHL game. So we have some great milestones here. Berkeley Catton, Carson Rakoff, and Caden Price were named for the Team Canada World Juniors selection camp. I mean, not great that it's Canada, but yay for the Kraken.
Just give us this one. Come on.
Just one. Come on.
Oh, fine. Yay. No, I'm really happy for them being named to World Juniors. That's a huge honor. We actually on stream were talking about some of the younger players, and these three names came up. So no surprise to me. They're really been fun to watch in their respective teams and leagues. So good for them and good choices. And last little piece of news is Ryan Winterton. So he was not on the NHL roster as of 12/8, which is the day we're recording. Not sure if he went down to Coachella. No one said anything yet. It hasn't been officially on the socials, but could be a paper transaction. And also just could be that they're sending him down because the Kraken are now going to be at home. So keep an eye on it, but I will miss Ryan Winterton if he is back in Coachella, but we'll be happy to watch him continue to soar to the top of the leaderboard there.
All right, gang. So last week was not our hypest of weeks. We were not feeling very good. All was grim and cloudy and not so great. But I want to just hope and pray that this week our vibe check is a little more positive. How are we feeling coming off this week of Kraken hockey?
I'm going to start this thing off because I missed last week because, I had a case of the Kraken flu, kind of like what the Kraken had. They couldn't score, they couldn't do anything. And well, they got slapped around by a bunch of ducks and then got slapped around by a bunch of sharks. However, feeling pretty positive this week. Kraken look like they're playing better too, coming out of this road trip the way that they have. Time of recording, beating the Rangers today, shocked to say the least. I don't think anyone really expected us to have a winning record, especially when, leaving a 4-game series between the Ducks and the Sharks and only pulling off one win. So I am pleasantly surprised, pleasantly happy, but at the same time optimistic to say the least. Like I'm not going to be like, oh, they're going to make the playoffs, we're clear 90 points, we're doing all this. Like I'm still remaining optimistic and like realistic at the same time because like it's the Kraken. And I know that sounds really harsh. Like there's a lot of positives to look at in this. Shane Wright is an absolute legend. And for everyone that was calling him out on Twitter, reality check on this because he is here and he is ready to play. And then, you got the maestro, you got Bjorky being Bjorky. He's been fantastic. And then, I got to say, the other one who had a nice little sit in the press box and decided that he was going to do wonders and, decided to score was Andre Burakovsky. So overall, I'm pretty happy. And I really do believe that at the end of the day, the healthy scratch, sit in the press box mentality is something that works. And yeah, definitely think that's something that they should look with Matty Beniers, but that will be a discussion for another day. Who wants to go next?
So I'm going to piggyback on that, and the thing that I want to highlight for this week is what I'm calling the Dan Bylsma press box effect. So Alex highlighted the players there, and the players who were sent up to the press box have, since they've returned, become point per game players, with the exception of Ty Cartier. But I don't think we necessarily expect that as his role on the team. However, when he did come back from the press box, he did have a goal and an assist in the first two games back. Looking at the three who also took a sit, so Oliver Bjorkstrand, he's the big leader out of that. He has had 15 games played, and in that time, he has had 6 goals and 9 assists. 2 goals in today's game against the Rangers, which is awesome. Shane Wright, Heather's guy, Shane Wright, have played 8 games since returning with 6 goals and 3 assists. And Andrei Burakovsky, he has 2 games since he returned. He had a goal in his first game back, and he had an assist today against the Rangers. So I don't know if it's something that Disco Dan just knows what to do when he sends them up there. I don't know if there's something in the nachos that they serve in the press box, but that clearly seems to work. And so maybe sending people up for timeouts is not necessarily the worst thing.
No, absolutely not. It's not the worst thing. And I will piggyback off of what both of you guys just said and agree with Alex and say it would be a very good thing for Matty Beniers to be benched 1 game, be sat up in the press box, at least 1 game, frankly. Second of all, I just wanted to note there that it sounds like Alex's health is correlating with the Kraken's success. And so I'm kind of confused as to how he's still alive. Based on last year and a lot of what we've seen this year. And then third of all, back to Alex again. You said that the 90 points number is not very realistic. What is more realistic to you, like 62 or whatever you predicted for this year? I think the mid 90s is a little more realistic. I don't know about you guys. But the way I'm feeling pretty good. I don't think you can really go away from this week and the opponents that we played and really feel bad about the performance. Exceeds all my expectations. So I'm feeling very chipper. We're currently 8th in shooting percentage in the league. We're 25th in save percentage. We have roughly 30% playoff odds, not like 60% or whatever we saw in Money Puck a couple days ago. I think that was a big hoax. End of the week, 3-1-0 for this week. So really good stuff from the Kraken. Shocking, very shocking, but yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, I am feeling really good. And I'm not going to lie, during hockey season, my mood and like my own overall vibes are totally dependent on how this team is doing. And I can't like deny that anymore. So, like the fact that they did so well this week, I'm so happy. And, you know, I was really worried that we'd come into recording this podcast after the Rangers game and we'd all be super down because of a loss. But like they totally proved us completely wrong. And I'm so happy about that. Like it was such a good performance and we'll talk about it. But it's just so nice to see them go out and win against these teams that are tough. But on top of that, playing well against, you know, bad teams like the Islanders, not a great team, but they still played well. They didn't sink down to their level. And I really appreciate that about them. And, you know, talking about the press box, we have to highlight that there's a line that has 2 of those guys on it. Ellie Tolvanen has not been sat, but we have Shane Wright and Oliver Bjorkstrand that have sat, and they're on this line together. And this line is just money. And I think, you know, they're the ones generating most of the offense and most of the chances, and you can't deny that. So it's been really fun to watch them really gel as a line. And, you know, especially, you know, I've really high on Shane Wright, of course, but I just think you can't deny his talent and his hockey IQ at this point. He's really taken his time and just grown so much. And the last 8 games in particular have just been incredible for him. So just really feeling good about the team right now. And especially, you know, we have to look to the future a little bit more and think about the younger players like Shane Wright. So really happy to see him develop.
And that takes us into our recaps of the last week. Like Derek said, we went 3-1-0 since. And that all started off with game 26 against the Carolina Hurricanes, which was a 4-2 win for the Kraken. This was our stream game of the week. Thanks to all who joined us. It was an awesome time. Just in case you missed our update on Twitter or Instagram, wherever it may be, the stream streak continues as we now have a record of 7-0-1. So if you are not going to the game and you want to come hang out with us for our next game, which is going to be on Tuesday against the Florida Panthers, make sure you pull up to the YouTube and join us there. This game started off with Jaden Schwartz getting us all excited and going, scoring the for opening goal at 19 seconds into the first period. Yanni Gord caught a streaking Schwartz who split the two defenders and put it past Kochetkov, taking a hard tumble into the boards afterwards. And I, maybe just speaking for myself, I felt a little nervous thinking back to Ebbs sliding into the boards. He hit it pretty hard, but he got off and skated off, so there's no harm or anything to worry about there. Eric Robinson of the Canes tied the game up a few minutes later, and we ended the first period tied at one apiece. The only goal of the second period came courtesy of Eli Tolvanen. Tolvi had a hip check which knocked the puck loose and resulted in a series of passes between Vince Dunn and Shane Wright. Oliver Bjorkstrand set a shot on goal, and then Ellie was able to bury the rebound to give the Kraken the lead. The third period scoring opened with the streaking Martin Necas breezing past Jamie Alexiak and getting a backhand shot past Joey. Just was really not a great moment for a big rig there, and we were all kind of reeling from when that one happened. And then we were going to be down 3-2, but there was a rare goalie interference challenge which went in our favor for once, and the goal was called off. Yanni Gord got the go-ahead goal by knocking a deflected Jaden Schwartz pass out of the air to get past the goalie. The final goal of the game came when Brandon Tanev activated turbo mode and got a goal. The assist on the goal came from Heather's guy, Ryan Winterton, and that was him earning his first NHL point of his career.
Watching this game and doing the game live, I think one of the things that we all noticed was how successful they were at shutting down the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are such a offensively driven team, and the Kraken just shut them down like they were the San Jose Sharks from last season. But overall, promising game. I don't think any one of us really had the Kraken coming into this game pulling off, the 2 points, and the fact that they really did play this game and dominate them pretty much the full 60 minutes was an early Christmas present to all of us.
Yeah, I agree. To bounce off of that, just the first time we played Carolina, were any of us there at that game? I don't remember.
Yes, I was there.
Oh,
Remember mac
Heather
and
was
cheese?
there.
The only good
Oh,
thing
the
was the mac and cheese night.
Yeah, that's right. That was the only good thing because it was like 80 shot attempts to like 15 shot attempts or something. It was insane. Limiting the Canes to pretty much like no shots at all. Anyone got the shot numbers on that game?
I think it was 19.
Yeah,
We
just
held them to
unreal.
19.
Unreal because the Canes are literally known for just like throwing everything on net, which worked out for us in a couple games. So stay tuned for that. But no, they are known for doing that. And the fact that we were able to shut them down, that's just huge. And it really just, and we're going to see it in other games too, but it's just the current Kraken team, they can just have these insane games against insane opponents, and then also just these horrible games against horrible opponents. And it's just crazy to see. It's that Jekyll and Hyde stuff that Alex has talked about a couple weeks ago. Really crazy. It's good because of our potential, but it's bad because of how low our floor is sometimes. It's really hard to explain. It just kind of sucks, but it's also like the best thing in the world. So exciting hockey.
Yeah, this game was so fascinating just because Carolina, like Derek was saying, is usually a really high shot count team. And the fact that we were able to hold them to 19 is absolutely wild. So big shout out to the defense that night. Sometimes, actually most times the defenses looked really good, and especially so in this one. This one was a win they really needed to stop the losing skid. Like, this was just such a needed win. And to be against Carolina, I think was a big just confidence boost for the team as well. And I think just one that the fan base also kind of needed, because we were, like you all know, because you've listened, we were pretty down after that last week. So I will say Shane Wright had a bad turnover in that one. It led to Carolina's first goal. And Vince Dunn said that he went to Wright and just told him, just forget about it, go get one. And Wright went and stole the puck in the neutral zone. He sent Dunn and Bjorkstrand on a rush, and that led to Bjorky taking a shot, and that was stopped, but Ellie Tolvanen was able to tap it in. So Wright sort of made up for it. But what I like about that is he didn't just take it and internalize it and make a mistake, turn into something even worse. So I am, again, liking the maturity in Shane Wright's game, because that's a big moment. I think you can easily make a mistake and then have it ruin your entire night. So good for Shane Wright. The next game we had was game 27 against the New York Islanders. This was a 5-2 win. And if I were to give the TLDR of this game, it would just be that the Kraken played well and won against a team that they should beat. And also Vince Dunn. Those are like the top parts of this game. But the Kraken scored 2 minutes and 48 seconds into the game. Ty Cartier had a net front tip in off of Vince Dunn's shot. Dunner had the most incredible shots in this game, like just absolute rifles. I just can't get over it. I've watched them a bunch of times, even if they weren't goals going in, somebody redirecting them. It was amazing. Ryan Winterton actually held off 2 Islanders to make sure that Cartier was clear for that goal, and it was pretty impressive. I watched that back a bunch too because it was super fun to see. The next goal was a power play goal late in the first period from Oliver Bjorkstrand that made it 2-0 Kraken. Scott Mayfield shot the puck over the glass for a delay of game penalty, and it was another tip-in shot from Vince Dunn. I think Dunn's just so smart. Like, he's looking for players that are net front and like where they have a stick, like they can get a stick on the puck and then shoots that direction. Like, it's so smart. This extended Bjorky's point streak to 7 games. And then 3:55 into the second period, the Kraken's third unanswered goal of the game was had, and this was a slap shot by Dunner, and it was a beauty. So again, he already had tried twice, to sort of get the puck towards the net, and then this one actually went in for him. Then Noah Dobson went to the box for high-sticking Bjorky, and this resulted in the Shane Wright power play goal to bring the score to 4-0. Shane Wright won a puck battle against the boards and got the puck to Brandon Montour, who then got the puck back to Wright for a wrist shot that easily went past Sorokin. And Gord was right in front with a great screen, and I just loved everything about this power play goal, and I love Shane Wright on the power play. I'm going to blame ESPN for what happened next because it was an ESPN game and we were well into the third when they mentioned Joey getting a shutout. And I think all of Kraken Nation collectively groaned because that is just terrible to do. And I completely blame them for that. But Dobson had his wrist shot saved by Joey, and then the Islanders were able to keep the puck in the Kraken zone. And there was a snapshot screened so well by the Islanders. It was a good goal. I can't deny it. But it just went through Joey's legs, and that made the score 4-1. So no donuts for Joey, and I just, again, blame ESPN. At 15:37 in the third period, the Islanders are able to make it 4-2. It was just a backhanded goal. It was nice. It was off the rebound, and I got nervous at that point. Like, I think we all, like the whole Kraken community was, because it would be so Kraken-y to just blow a lead like that. But thank goodness for James Schwartz, because at 17:20 in the third, he had a backhanded empty net goal, and that put the game away from the Kraken. Just an absolute foot race from Brandon Tanev. He got the puck out of the Kraken's own zone, and Schwartz was able to get a stick on the puck. And that put me at ease when the score was 5-2. For this game, special teams were actually perfect on the night. It was 2 for 2 on the power play, 3 for 3 on the PK, and I just was amazed by that. This is the game where Yanni Gord seemed to get hurt, but he's back now, but just always keeping an eye on that. But great game for the Kraken against a team they really should beat, and they came out and played like a good team. So a good team against a bad team, and it ended up how it should. So overall, fantastic game.
So I was only able to see the first period of this game, and then the missus and I were off to a little musical theater with some friends, went to see Book of Mormon. So that's going to come up later. That's a little foreshadowing for later. But what I saw in the first period was getting really excited that Vince Dunn is coming back to the form that we expect him to be at. He had those 2 assists in the first period, and I just knew when that first period came on, it's like he's hungry for this one. He's going to get one. And sure enough, I get to the theater, I get out of my car. It's just after I unplug my KJR radio broadcast from the drive I was on, and I look down, I see the alert that Vince Dunn scored. And it's like, all right, he's back. He's going to do his awesome Vince Dunn things that we expect him to do. And it's just really good to see him back in that shape. This game had me feeling really good sitting during the show, and I'd feel a little buzz on my watch, and I'd look over and it says Kraken goal, and then look over my watch and another buzz. Oh no, we went down a goal, but kept battling, kept coming back. This is the Kraken that we love to see. And my favorite song in the Book of Mormon is a song called I Believe. And after this game, I certainly believe that the Kraken are doing their best Kraken hockey that we can be right now.
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch this one, but I guess the perspective I can add or whatever, and this is like just going to a website, but the Kraken led 3.95 to 2.87 in expected goals. It's getting less common where we actually win these battles, the expected goal battles. It's always been uncommon for the Kraken, so it's good to see dominance by the book, sort of textbook dominance, where we're actually generating better shots than the other team. That's like name of the game, playing better hockey, rather than just relying on like low percentage shots to go in, which is primarily how we usually get our success. So good to see, like Heather said earlier, against bad teams, being able to, actually draw stuff up and get good shots on net. I assume that it was a really good game to watch. So
Got just like a little bit on this game. Vince Dunn. That's all I really have to say on this. Vince Dunn just shows, really proved it in this game, and he's really proved since coming back from his injury on how critical of a player he is for the Kraken, especially on the defensive side of things. Montour and Dunn, we have two strong defensive pairings, both offensively and defensively, and I think that just highlights it even more a game like this and what Dunn can actually do, and shows that he's worth every penny that we paid him. So that's how I kind of feel just about this game. Moving forward into game 28 against the New Jersey Devils, the Kraken ended up losing this game a 3-2. However, it was a very good game, and the Kraken actually played their hearts out the full 60 minutes, in my opinion. So the Dan Bylsma press box effect was on full display when the one and only Bubble Boy Berkey lit the lamp. This wasn't a fluke Burke goal that we've seen so far in the past. He nearly actually went coast to coast, and it was like seeing like shades of Berkey past when he played for the Capitals and the Avalanche, and he weaved through three defenders and wristed it top shelf over the glove side. Luke Hughes responded 2 minutes later, however, netting his first goal of the season, scoring from the sharp angle goal off the pass from his brother, Jack. The second period opened with Shane Wright scoring his sixth goal of the season on the power play. The play started with Shane laying out to keep the puck in the offensive zone, knocking the puck to Brandon Montour. Schwartz then got the puck down to Tolvey in the corner, who caught Shane right in front of the net, marking his second power play goal in as many games. Jesper Bratt tied things up with an unlucky goal against the Kraken. Grew was able to deflect the shot off his blocker, but unfortunately he sent it to the one and only Adam Larsson's leg, and it went back into the net. Really, you can't really blame either. You can't blame Grew on this one. You can't blame Larsson on this one. It was just one of those goals where, if it was going to bounce off of Grubauer, it was going to bounce off of Larsson, and it was going to go into the back of the net. Kind of just wrote itself. Unfortunate set of circumstances. Another unfortunate bounce for the Kraken sealed the deal for the New Jersey Devils. After Grew was unable to secure a loose puck, Vince Dunn attempted to pull the puck away from the crease. The puck bounced off the left post and right to Timo Meier, who was able to lock down the 3-2 win for the Devils. Brandon Montour almost tied the game up, however, in the third period, had Markstrom totally out of possession and basically an empty net. Just missed the net, unfortunately. We all were holding our breath. I don't know about you, but in that last 2-3 minutes, I was like, oh, they actually might pull this off. And, it just wasn't meant to be, unfortunately, in this. They didn't give up. And truly, this game was one of those games where you couldn't be upset with the Kraken, because really from start to finish, they played hard, and coming back, this is the second of a back-to-back. So, when they can put in a performance like this in the second game of the back-to-back, yeah, can't really complain. Those are the types of losses where you go, it was close, but I'm not gonna worry about it.
Yeah, I can't be upset about this one at all. They fought really hard to come back. The PK was perfect for the second game in a row, and the Devils have the top power play in the league. So I'm really not upset about how they played. Two unlucky bounces, really, and that Brandon Montour heartbreaker at the end, just so close. Even Coach Dan was unsure how that didn't go in, because that was the game tire. I swear it was supposed to be, and it just, puck luck was not on our side, I think. So but overall, just a really good game. I thought this one was going to be a lot worse. I thought we were going to be down by a lot more. So 3-2 is fantastic. I don't really have a bunch of critiques or anything, because I think they played well and fought hard, and I was really proud of that, because that's the Kraken I like to see, the team that doesn't give up, the team that can come back from being down, and I'm just really happy for that.
yeah, and one thing I wanted to say really quick, Matt's always getting these really clean transitions in on the pod here. But I wanted to ask, so it seems like we can all agree that we can't be upset with the Kraken. But could we possibly be upset with a specific Kraken player? Maybe a one Chandler Stephenson, Matt?
Some people might be, but I'll tell you, I am not one of those people. My takeaway from this game came in the aftermath of the game when online, the backlash to the Kraken loss, it didn't fall on Gru for once. So blessings on that for Gru. He was saved from that lashing. But the backlash fell on one Chandler Stephenson. And comments coming out. I can't remember what goal it was on, but it came off of a Chandler Stephenson turnover, and it was just lots of rhetoric about him being a defensive liability and not being good and being a bust. And I don't myself consider myself a Chandler Stephenson guy. I think he's perfectly serviceable. He's from Saskatoon up the road from me, so that's pretty cool. But I wouldn't label myself as a Chandler Stephenson guy. But I don't agree with the take that he's been a total bust. If we look at him, he is currently tied for third on the team with Brandon Montour for most points, and he's sitting at 19 points. Is he scoring goals? No, he's not, but he is contributing in many more ways offensively. He is, well, you can tell it's me when tweets are coming from the account because he is the assist king, and I put that all in caps. He is the assist king on the team, leading the team with 17 assists, which is four higher than Jared McCann and Riker Evans behind him. He leads the team and centers in face-off percentages at 52.5%. Yanni, Maddie, and Shane are behind him at 48.5, 47.6, and 45% respectively. And I feel when you watch him, one of my favorite things watching Chandler Stephenson is he's always putting on a skating clinic. Just watch the little dots that they put on NHL.com when they show the database highlights of the scoring plays, and he's just dancing around players, whether it's in the neutral zone, offensive zone, wherever it is. He is just skating circles around people. I feel a lot of what I've seen is people comparing Stevie to the kind of player that everyone said Alexander Wenberg was when he was with the Kraken, but he's just better. Wenny was often praised for his playmaking and passing abilities despite not scoring many goals, and he had 67 assists in his 222 games with the Kraken. Stevie is at 19 points through 28 games. That's a point per game rate of 0.45 for Wenberg and 0.68 for Stevenson. He just makes plays. If we look a few weeks ago, I can't remember the Nashville game. He had that amazing net front pass, blind pass over to Daniel Sprong and put it in. In the game that we're going to talk about next against the Rangers, he had an amazingly perfect pass to Oliver Bjorkstrand to put a goal in that game. He's making things happen. Was he expensive? Absolutely. Will his contract age poorly? Almost definitely. Does he make costly turnovers? Yes. But I also look at Yanni Gourde making frequent trips to the penalty box. Matty Beniers had horrible turnovers today against the Rangers. So he's not alone in there. But is he a bust? I think absolutely not.
Wow. Well, that was a lot of good context, Matt, and I really appreciate your comparison to Wenberg there because that is a very common thing that is said about Chandler Stephenson. Is that comparison to Wenberg? It's good to see how much better he is. In terms of the contract, right? I think all of us were super against the contract. I know I was super against the contract. I was very vocal about it. And I'm still not for the contract. The contract was bad, and I think we can all agree that the contract was still bad, right? Um, in terms of evaluation of the player, they still have a value even if they're overpaid, right? So like if Matty Beniers was playing like a $5 million player, but he's being paid 7.2 mil or whatever he's getting paid, like he's still a $5 million player. So that's kind of where I am with Stevenson. He's not like he's not like the 500th best player in the NHL or anything, as some have said. So that's where I am on that. I wanted to run through some advanced stats as well, just for Stevenson. So his expected goals for per 60 minutes is 3.4, which is fourth on the Kraken. So generating offense when he's on the ice is very common, as we've all seen. That passes the eye test, the smell test, whatever. High danger shot attempts per 60, 3.66 per game or per 60. So he's third. And here is the deal with Stevenson. His defense is extremely lackluster. In fact, you could make the case that it's the worst on the Kraken. When he's on the ice, our expected goals against per 60 is 3.83. So that's last on the team. The problem is these are not like dispositive stats. You can't just like with very little in sports at all, can you ever just look at one stat or one category and say, oh, this is dispositive? I don't need to look at anything else for context. I can just rank it like this and say this person's the best, this person's the worst. As Matt has brought up, the face-off percentages, the amount of assists, the plays that we've seen him make. As I just brought up, the expected goals for numbers. You can't just take the expected goals against number and say, oh, since he's the worst in that, he's the worst on the team. Adam Larson is the second worst in terms of expected goals against per 60. Is Adam Larson like the second worst player on the Kraken? No, I don't think anybody would say that. Daniel Sprong is the second best in that category on the team. Is Daniel Sprong the second best at defense? No, dude's not even playing. Okay. So let's simmer down. Let's simmer down. Let's use our eyes a little bit. Let's not just cite some 500th in the league stat, okay, and act like that's the only stat that matters. That's ridiculous. The amount of offense Stephenson is generating is insane, and we ought to be sacrificing some poor defense for some offense. Offense is really hard to come by. We saw last year. We've seen this year. Offense for the Kraken has been lacking. Okay, so we need to push that pedal to the floorboard in terms of however we can generate offense. Stephenson is the perfect fit for that. He's overpaid, yes. Contract's bad, yes. We're gonna have him until he's 37 unless we get rid of him. That's horrible, yes. But definitely a top 400 player. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, we can move on to.
I wanted to say one quick
go ahead.
thing because one of the things I've been thinking about contracts of late is salary caps keep going up. So, you know, a $7 million contract for Chandler Stephenson in 7 years is going to look like pennies on the dollar.
Isn't it like six? Isn't it like 6.4 or something? I don't even think it's 7.
No, it's 7. No, he signed. I think he signed
Stephenson
7.
is.
Yeah, I think it's like 7 or something like that. But
Gotcha.
still, like his contract is going to look amazing in 7 years. Like it's going to be a joke. So I know we're always talking about like, oh, the contract right now is going to look bad in 7 years, but we don't mention the fact that those next 7 or 6 off seasons we're going to see a lot of cap increases. So, you know, in 6-7 years we're going to be like, oh wow, we're paying him 7 million. Oh, the cap's 120 million or 130. That's nothing.
It is 6.25 million, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just pulled it up. It is 6.25. So even adds to your point, even more.
Yeah.
So even it's gonna be even less. And that brings us to the last game that we're covering today, which actually transpired, like 7 or 8 hours ago is when it started. It's like right as I woke up, like 10 a.m. Whoo, I was up late last night. Okay, so the Rangers game. Kraken won this one 7-5. Pretty insane win. Starting out with some insane stuff, Joey Decord became ill overnight. So the Kraken had to procure a local emergency backup goalie in New York. His name was Michael Matthias. I don't know how to say his last name, but he was like he's like a businessman guy in New York. He's a former hockey player. He played in Alaska, but wasn't very good. He's an average guy, kind of like Matty Beniers. But so we got him on what's called an amateur tryout contract to play as the emergency backup goalie on the bench for today's game. The first goal of the game came from the Rangers, and it was shot from like the blue line, and then Grubauer couldn't handle the rebound, and it was like an easy tap in. So I definitely think that goal was on Grubauer's rebounding ability and his failure to trap the puck. The first penalty kill for the Kraken, Chandler Stephenson. Oh, the guy we were just talking about, absolutely crushed. He won one of the faceoffs. He blocked a shot, which is not common for him. He's not like a gritty kind of Tanev guy like that, but he blocked a shot, and he was absolutely just rushing to every single board battle to get the puck to clear it. Really good stuff from Stephenson there. Grubauer also had a key save in the first period on that penalty kill. And then right after, he got shouldered to the head, and the shoulder impacted his head, and then like half a second later he dropped. I don't know if that was just like a delayed reaction or he just wanted to make sure a ref saw it, which is completely valid, by the way. Like all the people booing that, it's like, no, he got contact with the head. He just wanted to make sure that the ref saw it. That's completely valid. Rangers fans were extremely upset with that. So Grubauer not making any new friends in New York, but the power play was kind of uneventful. If you just imagine like Kraken power play from the last couple of years, that's kind of what it was like. Just, cleared out a couple times, maybe get a couple chances. At this point, it was like 10 minutes into the game, and the Kraken only had 3 shots, and I was like, "Oh God, it's one of those games. This is just not gonna be it." The Rangers, it felt like the Rangers had the Kraken on the ropes, even in even strength play. So like it felt like a power play for the Rangers, just 5-on-5. For a lot of the game, honestly, it was crazy. Grubauer fought off like a solid 3 to 4 shot flurry, keeping it 1-0 near the end of the first. So that was really good. Something about the first period was New York's defense completely just kept Seattle to the perimeter, which is common for games that we lose, and just didn't really let us shoot at much at all. But if we did shoot, it was from the perimeter. The second period is where, oh no, sorry. Before that, at the end of the first period, Artemi Panarin, he ripped a shot like right as the buzzer was going off. And we've been talking on this podcast for the last couple of weeks about like the Kraken's fight, like level of fight. And right as he did that, he got swarmed by like Larson and a couple other players. And so that was really good to see, like, no, like we're not standing up for, or we're not gonna sit down if you rip on our goalie like that after the buzzer. The second period is where stuff starts to get good. Bjorkstrand got the first goal of for the Kraken from an amazing pass by, you guessed it, Chandler Stephenson, on the power play for an easy tap in. He just got it right to Bjorky, like in the crease, basically in the net front, as Heather says, in the goal myth, as I say. And then no, there was a response goal from the Rangers like a minute later. It was horrible. Matty Beniers, he caused multiple penalty kills. The first two penalty kills that we had were both caused by Beniers. He's been pretty sloppy. He did get 2 assists today, but one of them was on a empty net goal, so take that for what it's worth. And then there was a power play goal from the Rangers on that penalty kill that Beniers caused. So I wrote in my notes, thanks Beniers for helping us go down 3-1, because that's what he did. And then there were 3 straight goals from the Kraken in a row at that point. There was one that was from Tanev. It was a heads-up play to storm past the Rangers for an easy tap-in. This is to close out the second period. Tolvanen instantly shooting, as he likes to do, from like probably 30 feet out, and he just has an absolute snipe. And then Bjorkstrand got a second of the night, which was a tip-in from Monty. The Rangers really did dominate a lot of the first and like the second period, but the second half of the second period was just like cracking. It wasn't really reflected on the expected goals. Like it was kind of like I was talking about earlier, just low expected goal shots that were going in. That one heads up play by Tanev really just like jump started the entire Kraken effort today. He just saw that like everyone was kind of standing around, getting complacent. He just stormed up to the crease, tapped it in. It was so nice. And then one thing I also wanted to note about the second period, I was like, Grubauer's finally getting like goal support, which is awesome. And then the third period was kind of just about closing it out, right? We were up 5-3 at this point. We were up 4-3 at this point. Vince Dunn, he got a goal which made it 4 unanswered to go up 5-3. And then there was a 5th unanswered goal by Heather's favorite player, and actually Heather's guy, Shane Wright, to go up 6-3. We had a 13% chance of winning this game when we were down 3-1 on Money Puck, and I was like, no, it's time to turn it off. Glad I didn't, because this game was absolutely a thriller until the end. And then there was just one of 2 things, or maybe both, about this game that I wanted to note. There was either above average shooting talent, and then also or horrible Rangers goaltending by Jonathan Quick, because the expected goals were 3.08 to 2.34 New York at one point, and the score was 6-3. So like, just not good. But super glad the results ended up the way they did. And yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, this was a game I did not expect from the Kraken. Super nervous going into this one, and when we went down 3-1, I was like, we're cooked here. So just a great comeback game, like incredible comeback game. And I have to say, Gru did settle in really nicely, and played really well, especially the second and like halfway through the second into the third. He just looked super solid. Bjorkstrand had an incredible game. 3 points in the second period alone, like just really incredible. He's actually the first Kraken skater to record multiple 4-point outings with the franchise, so I thought that was cool too. Like just the Maestro's just racking up these milestones, which is really neat. They scored on the power play for the 3rd straight game in a row. I mean, that's awesome too, especially because we had a time in there where they weren't scoring on the power play at all, and it looked strange. Like we couldn't figure out what the plan was there, and they weren't executing it. So I'm loving seeing these power play goals come in. It was their fourth multi-goal comeback win of the season also. So just really complete game. And I almost feel like the Rangers just didn't expect us to come out and play that way. It almost looked like they thought this was going to be a sleepy game, and that's what they looked like, and that's how they played. So I am so glad that we went in there and played spoiler to them. That makes me so happy. And just a quick little stat about my guy, Shane Wright. He's the 11th player in NHL history to score a goal in each game of a road trip in the New York metro area. So Islanders, Devils, and Rangers. And I just think that's incredible. So just a really fun game to watch, too. And I loved that Grubauer was able to get goal support, like Derek said. Like, that made me so happy. And even when they were doing the belt presentation after the game, Dunn said, "We've been letting this guy down, and we didn't let him down today." And I thought that was so important to hear from the team, that they realized, like, yeah, we're not giving him goal support, and he stood on his head today. So just a great game overall. Feel good game, really good vibes, happy overall.
So I have two takeaways from this game. The first, going back to what I said off the top of the show with the press box effect, we had 4 points out of Bjorkstrand, 2 points out of Shane Wright, and 1 point out of Andrei Burakovsky. So you love to see that press box effect in effect. And then I'm just so glad with these two games that Philip Grubauer got the results he did. Yes, we lost to the Devils, but I would not put that on him. One puck went off of Adam Larson's leg, and that's what kind of sealed it. But seeing him today get the win, just spare him from internet backlash for a day and leave people feeling good. They gave him the belt at the end of the game, which is awesome. And I can't remember the exact moment, but there was one breakaway that New York had. Whoever it was came streaking in and shot it on Grew. And Grew even faked out the like spotlight guy at MSG, because I always like seeing those moments when either the guy behind the boards flips the lamp too soon, or in this case, the guy who's up in the rafters with the spotlight put it on the guy that shot and then just quickly turned it off. It's like, don't get too trigger happy there, buddy. So just really glad that Grew had a good game. He's hopefully going to get some confidence out of that, and we can get the Grew that we've always been hoping for going forward.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that whole thing about Grubauer. I know, shocking. But realistically, he did what he needed to do today, get the win, and the boys came in, actually gave him goal support. So, getting the 7 goals is definitely one thing that I can get used to. And then secondly, this team is doing things that they've done this season already a few times, just to echo Heather's point about coming back when they're down games. Like, that didn't happen last season. It never did. There was no fight when they were down a goal or two. That was it. They were mailing it in. Forget about it. The Kraken are different this year when they do that. There's there's still always that chance that they can come back if they're down by a goal or two. And I think been a real adjustment, especially for us as fans watching the games, because last season that happened, it was over. You could shut the game off and knew that the Kraken were going to lose. This time around, it's a little different. There's always that chance for a comeback. So definitely some positive vibes when you look at how they're coming together as a team. And then also, we beat the New York Rangers. Like, this team is a Stanley Cup contending caliber team. The Kraken are working their way in that direction, but had no confidence whatsoever for us to pull off a win today. I was extremely worried when I heard about Joey being down with what appears to be the stomach bug or stomach flu, whatever you want to call it. And not saying that I was feeling stressed out about Grubauer and Ned, but like, he hasn't played a lot of hockey in the last little while. So there's a little bit of that worry going, you're going to throw him in for a second game, almost in a back-to-back situation. So it was kind of one of those up in the air type moments, but the fact that we were able to pull out the W is perfect in its own way. So 14 wins on the season. I can't complain whatsoever.
I mean, yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing. Yeah, if you take Grubauer's performance against the Sharks, which obviously we unloaded about last week, like today, with like nearly 40 shots from the Rangers, that'd be like 25 goals against if you played the same way. So definitely a market improvement. He let in 5 today, but I mean, I think it was only like negative 1.5 goal saved above expected. So he's making headway.
And we got 6 points in these 4 games that we felt really grim about last week when we were coming off only 2 points on 4 games that we should have won the week before. So
And our first win at Madison Square Garden, which is also really cool. Great
all
milestone.
the wins, all the W's.
It just shows you how Jekyll Hyde this team is. You know, one week where you think you're going to get all the wins, you don't, and then the next week where you do not expect a single win, you pull out 3. So this team is just the perfect Jekyll and Hyde. If you're going to cast a team to play the Jekyll and Hyde character, it would be the Seattle Kraken. But moving forward, we're going to go south to the desert in Desert Dialogues. We're going to follow the Coachella Valley Firebirds as we always do, and we're going to take a look at all their games that they played over the past week. And starting off when they played on Tuesday, December 3rd against the Henderson Silver Knights. Unfortunately, they lost 4-3. The Knights opened the scoring, then took a 2-goal lead just a minute later. Cale Fleury was able to net the Firebirds' first goal of the night in the dying seconds of the first period to bring the game back within 1. Ben Myers won a crucial puck battle against the boards and got the puck to Yanni Niemann. Keep an eye on this player. Fleury got himself clear to receive the pass from Niemann and shot the puck cleanly into the nets. At around 8.5 minutes into the second period, Ben Myers was able to tie the game at 2 apiece. This was a beautiful breakaway goal. He actually was surprising with his speed. It was very impressive. The Knights scored a goal that was initially ruled no goal. But it was reviewed. It was determined to be a goal and put the Knights back in the lead, unfortunately. During a power play late in the second, the Knights added that insurance goal and gave them a 2-goal lead. Gustav Olofsson was able to get the Firebirds within 1 goal in the third. He was net front. Kraken, take note, net front. And was able to tap home a goal. This was off a rocket from Yanni Niemann. Yet again, Yanni Niemann. But the Knights goalie was able to stop 19 of 20 shots in the third to secure their win. So the Firebirds gave it their all in the third period, and they just weren't able to get past a really hot goaltender at the time. Silver Knights had only 8 points on the season and were on a 6-game losing skid until they played Coachella. This is also was the third straight loss for the Firebirds, which is very rare for them if you've followed them over the last couple of seasons, but they tend to figure things out and move forward. In the positive category, great night for Yanni Niemann, who was third star of the night.
On Thursday the 5th, the Coachella Valley Firebirds played the Texas Stars, and familiar face was in net for the Stars this game, Magnus Hellberg, who we know from the Kraken. I actually think he's sort of like looks like a Disney prince if you've ever seen him. He's got this like flowing blonde hair as he walks with his huge goalie frame through the tunnel. But the Stars scored first just 31 seconds into the game, and the Firebirds' first shot of the game. This is why the AHL is so fun. It came from Ian McKinnon, and it resulted in a goal. So one shot, first shot, and it resulted in a goal. I just love that. Really clean shot, just cut through the Stars' defense, and really just a product of the Firebirds making a few key passes, seeing open lanes, and taking these shooting opportunities. And they're just becoming so much better at doing that. The Stars weren't done at this point. They scored 2 additional goals in the first, including 1 power play goal. The Firebirds only had 2 shots in the first, and they went into the second down 3-1. In the second, Captain Max McCormick scored a power play goal to pull the Birds within 1, and basically was able to redirect the puck from into the net from a shot from Logan Morrison. And I liked this goal because it's like even as it's about to go into the net, the Firebirds continue to put pressure on the Stars and get to the net for the rebound. And they were going to do that if it had been necessary. Like they all swarmed the net, even though the puck had gone in, they were ready to get the rebound. And I love that. Unfortunately, in the second, Nicholas Coco left the game with an injury, and he was replaced by Alice Stutska, who's totally great goaltender, but they did have to call up Jack LaFontaine from the KC Mavericks. So I do think that, Coco's going to be out for a little bit longer, which is kind of sad just because he's been playing so well. But get well soon, Coco. Ben Meyer scored another power play goal with 6 minutes left in the second. He was net front for this one, my favorite place for a player to be. He collected the rebound, was able to tap it in. The Stars wasted no time regaining the lead with a goal just a minute and 17 seconds later. So going into the third, the Firebirds were down by 1. The score was 4-3. With less than 5 minutes left in the third, Ben Meyers scored another power play goal to tie the game. Yanni Newman just hammered a shot towards the net, and both Luke Henman and Ben Meyers were net front to make sure a Firebird got the rebound, and Meyers just was able to push it past Hellberg. About 2 minutes later, Leighton Road scored to put the Firebirds in the lead for the first time that night, making the score 5-4. Just a beautiful drive through the neutral zone by Yanni Newman, who passed it to Road, and Road was able to cleanly beat Hellberg. Ben Meyers took advantage of the empty net to score a hat trick that night. Ben Meyers hat trick alert. So fun. I love that for him. It put the game away from the Firebirds with the final score being 6-4. So this was another game. The Firebirds just kept coming back. They never gave up. And another win for Stutzka, who relieved Coco. He saved 15 of 16 shots. So fantastic showing from Stutzka, who I feel is really coming into his own lately. And I'm really happy for him. But Ben Meyers hat trick. We love to see it.
The next game the Firebirds played was on Saturday, December 7th against the San Jose Barracuda, and they lost 1-0. So this game wasn't as exciting as the previous game. They did play against some former Firebirds, and that was Andrew Podorowski and Jimmy Schultz. This was a huge defensive battle, though. Only the second time in the last 13 games that the Firebirds have lost in regulation. So not a ton to say on this one because it was low scoring, however. So San Jose's Lucas Van Roboys scored late in the first period for the game's only goal. Both teams had clearly scouted each other, and it honestly was a very good defensive battle. If you love those types of games, highly recommend go back and watch this if you have a subscription. Goalies were absolute brick walls. Really, you can't argue, about a game like this. Firebirds had 36 shots on goal. Setska stopped 29 of 30. It was just one of those games where, both goaltenders were absolutely on fire, and the Firebirds just couldn't crack the code. And then finally, the last game that they were able to play was actually tonight. They finished just as we were recording, and they played against the San Jose Barracudas again in a back-to-back. Unfortunately, they lost 2-1 in this game. Nicolas Brouillard got his second goal of the season at 9:36 in the first period. However, the Barracuda tied it up at 15 minutes and 17 seconds on the power play in the first. And then, unfortunately, the Barracuda had won the game in the third period with 10 minutes and 32 seconds remaining in the game. With this game's and with the Firebirds' loss, this is actually Coco's first loss on North American soil. Prior to this, he was a perfect 6-0-0. So promising for Coco in his North American career. So that's one to keep an eye on as he progresses through the ranks.
I'm glad to see him back too. That was going to be a big loss for the Firebirds for sure. If you want to catch the Firebirds in any of their upcoming games, they play Thursday, December 12th, again against the San Jose Barracuda, Saturday, December 14th against the Calgary Wranglers, and Sunday, December 15th, again against the Calgary Wranglers. In our top Firebirds this week, Ryan Winterton still tops the list with 16 games played and 15 points. And with him seemingly potentially going back to Coachella, he's just going to keep adding to that. And I love that for him. Ben Meyers and Cale Fleury are both sitting at 14 points this season. Meyers doing that in 15 games, Fleury in 16. Jagger Furcus has 13 points in his 19 games, and we have a few sitting at 12 points. I think most notably here, we have Captain Max, who's gotten his 12 points in just 13 games. He was out with injury, so super impressive performance by the captain. Edward Chalet, exactly where he should be, playing in the AHL, has the 12 points in 17 games. Yanni Newman with 19 games, and Max Lajoie has done that in 20 games.
And then taking a look at the AHL standings, Coachella is currently sitting in third place in the Pacific Division with 25 points in 22 games played. They're behind the San Jose Barracudas, who have played one fewer game and have 29 points. The first place team is the Calgary Wranglers, who are going to be tough to catch with 35 points in 23 games this season. They are good. They are very good. Kind of seeing with the Wranglers, all the young talent that the Flames are building up on. So kind of cool to watch them play. But I definitely think the Firebirds are going to figure it out and catch up on them.
And that'll take us to our last segment of the day, our recurring segment week to make the sound table. our weekly recap of all things outside of the Seattle Kraken organization. Starting with Sound Table topic number one. There was lots of action for the New York Rangers this week, starting with now former captain Jacob Trouba. There were many discussions over the previous week about trade locations for Trouba, but they would require him to waive his no trade clause. Rumors then swirled that he may be put on waivers. Eventually, it was announced that he had been traded to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for defenseman Urho Vakakinen. Nailed it, I'm sure. And a fourth round pick. The Rangers news then continued the next day when it was announced that goaltender Igor Shesterkin signed an 8-year, $92 million contract carrying an AAV of $11.5 million. This $5.9 million annual raise makes him the highest paid goaltender in the NHL currently.
Yeah, if you combined Joey and Gru, it wouldn't even get that high. So you just stack Joey and Gru on each other's shoulders or something in the net and probably play better than Shesterkin. But insane for the goalie. But I hope one day we get something similar with the Kraken. Maybe like Beniers will be the captain, be like super overpaid, and then we could just trade him to some horrible team for like a fourth round pick. That'll make me so happy one day.
Can already hear all the Natty lovers being like, "You son of a!" right now.
I know.
That's how-
I cannot stamp the Maddie slander tonight.
I'm just picturing like all of Matty Beniers, like the fan base are like the Homer Simpson. You, Derek, are Bart, and it's like why yada, and it's just like, blah, 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 blah. That's what it's kind of looking like. That's all I think of. So, Godspeed with that kind of
Amen.
take.
I'd just like to say that the comments from Derek reflect those solely of Derek and not the BTW organization at large. On to Sound Table topic number two. The Four Nations face-off teams were announced this week. Not a single Kraken or former Kraken in sight on any of the teams, despite there being some late hope from myself and Alex that Joy just might crack Team Canada. While this is kind of a bummer, I personally am not super upset that all our guys will get a chance to recover and heal up from any bumps and bruises they might have. Not feeling super stoked about the goaltender list for Team Canada. We're not going to do so hot, I think, but there's some front end that looks pretty good on Team Canada, I think.
I'm blaming Canada Post because it probably all came down to Joey getting a Canadian passport, but because Canada Post is on strike, they just were like, no, we're not going to issue you one. And that's why he got, he missed the whole boat. Because if you look at Canada's goaltending depth, we look like a big pile of doggy doo doo.
Maybe we'll make some sort of wager as it comes closer to a little BTW border battle. To start brainstorming that, what we want to maybe put on the line. Sound table topic number three. The PWHL season is underway, and the league announced one of their most exciting games is returning. On January 25th, the Toronto Scepters, or Skeptras if you're nasty, and the New York Sirens will drop the puck in the Scotiabank Arena for the PWHL Battle on Bay Street. Last year's game featured a 3-0 win from Toronto over Montreal, and at the time set an all-time attendance record for women's hockey game at 19,285 fans, which was then later passed in April when 21,105 fans attended the rematch at Montreal's Bell Center. So we'll see. Hopefully, I don't see why there wouldn't be another blockbuster ticket sellout for that again, because up here in Canada especially, it is so ridiculously difficult to land yourself a ticket to a PWHL game. Next up on the sound table, number 4. This was a fun one in our little group chat this week that we got talking about when it happened. Former Kraken Morgan Geeky gave us all a good laugh this week. On Tuesday, a fan tweeted about Geeky saying, and I quote, "Okay, yeah, I've seen enough of this top line. You're telling me this is irreplaceable or that a rookie couldn't put better numbers than this mediocrity? How he is even on the team, let alone top line, is baffling at this point." End quote. Geeky, with no F's to give, replied, "Damn, bro, tell me how you really feel." He then went on to score 2 goals and record an assist in the following 2 games, so suck it, keyboard nerd.
Does this not scream something that either me or Alex would do? Especially Alex. Like, I just wanted to throw myself in there that way. It seemed like I'm not attacking you, but especially you, Alex, like just going after Tanev or something. They just absolutely light it up, and then they're like, "Hey, bro."
I'm waiting for the day where I call one of the Kraken players out, and the next moment I wake up and it's just insert player is, responded to the message being like, all right, bro. Be like, all right, I've made it. Let's go for it. Like, prove me wrong the next game.
If it was going to
Okay?
happen, I think it would have happened with Dave Haxtell.
Oh, probably. Just I'd wake up and there'd be a bottle of bleach
Bottle
at my
of bleach.
front door.
Well, no press is bad press, except around here. We only want to make friends with the Kraken. So let's keep civil, and we all love them. They're all our sweet babies.
Except Beniers.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Okay,
again,
and
we do not share this view.
Pitchforks. All the pitchforks. Derek, we can't protect you.
alrighty, and lastly on the sound table this week, I'm sure we have all heard of the teddy bear toss. For me, once a year here in Regina, the Regina Pats do a teddy bear toss night where fans shower the ice with stuffed animals after the home team's first goal, with all the stuffies being donated. This happens for many other teams around the hockey world, but not in Orlando, though. The Orlando Solar Bears, who are the Tampa Bay Lightning ECHL affiliate, which, aside, have an amazing logo, by the way. Check out their logo, it's very tough. They held an underwear toss. So the team started this tradition 2 years ago, and this year collected over 6,000 packages of underwear. These undergarments that were thrown onto the ice will now be donated to the Orange County Public Schools. I think it's the teddy bear toss is always awesome, having teams do things like that to give back, and I like that there's sort of this unique spin on it that this team's doing.
No, this is great because underwear and socks are the most requested items from people in need. And so the fact that they're donating so many, I actually think it's a really cool idea. So
But that's going to do it for the Puget Sound Table this week. Heather, do you want to let us know what the week ahead looks like for our Seattle Kraken?
I would love to. So Tuesday, the Kraken are back home at CPA playing the Panthers, and we are streaming this one. So you definitely don't want to miss out. We are going to keep our streaming record intact. I just know it, but we need your help. We need your comments and your chat and your company. So please come and hang out with us on YouTube while we stream live during that one. Then they are playing Thursday against the Boston Bruins and Saturday against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And Derek, do you want to close us out here, let people know where they can find us on the internet this week?
Absolutely, Matt. Make sure to sub to the YouTube and to check out our store at bit.ly/btw store. And please drop a follow and a 5-star review on the podcast app of your choice. And now, if you're wondering where you can find us, let's be like the Kraken and bring it back to the basics here. Shout out to Miss Jones, the first song I ever learned on the recorder. BTWSCA. BTWSCA. Shout out to you, Miss Jones. Thank you so much. And thank you, the listener, for listening to all of our debauchery on this fine episode. Matty Beniers, if you're listening, please improve your play. It will only make me happy. Other than that, thank you for listening. Love you guys all. And anything else?
Nope.
No, we should
See you
just
next
end
week,
it there.
folks.
Bye.
Later.
We going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.